when we finally said, you know, this is the take, there was just, everyone was so excited and so proud of what we all accomplished. And I think that that is the greatest feeling, and why I think I'm addicted to movies.
Tom Cruise never changes. He's had a very successful action movie career, and even a solid dramatic one to a certain extent, but those two aspects of his career rarely collide. His dramatic roles in dramas like, say, Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut remain separate from films like, say, Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Tomorrow as it was called theatrically, where the appeal was watching really awesome action and Cruise doing his own stunt work. Though as of late, no action franchise is as successful of capturing Tom Cruise's chops as one of the few action stars in Hollywood than the Mission Impossible films, which before Fallout has been a series that has been really hitting its stride lately as being a great action franchise that shows off Cruise's dizzying stunt work. But hey, what does one expect from a movie starring Tom Cruise? After all, Tom Cruise never changes.
In Mission Impossible, you're always talking about what is the stunt.
With this one, Tom's really sort of doubled down. It's not just one stunt.
I didn't think you could have beaten the last stunts, but he did.
Or at least that's what I thought before I saw Mission Impossible Fallout, which is the 6th installment of the Mission franchise and a direct sequel to Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which was the previous installment.
No shit!
The latest in the series abandons some of the tried and true missionary formula of being lighter fare and trades it in for a darker tone that, while still fun, does try to get a little kinky. Though, let's be fair, Rogue Nation had a little kink to it as well.
You've got a very warm hand.
You talk dirty to me. Talk dirty to me.
The plot of Mission Impossible Fallout, or as I like to call it, Mission Impossible Holy balls, Tom Cruise is really doing this shit. Ethan Hunt is hunting a rogue named John Lark who is planning on meeting with the Syndicate, which is the Spectre-like evil spy organization that was basically the main bad guy in the previous installment, Rogue Nation. Lark's identity is unknown, and he is looking to purchase some WMDs from that said evil spy agency. So obviously, this is a job for the Impossible Mission Force. Yeah, I know the name sounds silly, but hey, it's more acceptable than the fucking Prodigy. Am I right? So yeah, okay, I guess I'll accept the Impossible Mission Force.
I'll allow it.
Anyway, Ethan Hunt is teamed up with his super pals, i.e. who are the best supporting cast of the whole series in Simon Pegg's comedic relief as Benji, and then there's his BFF Luther, played by Ving Rhames, and rounding out the super crew is August Walker, played by Henry Cavill, who is a CIA agent, a hard-ass, and a mustache aficionado, and is sent to watch Tom Cruise because the CIA doesn't trust him despite his unique pedigree of doing impossible missions, saving the world, and jumping on couches. But even with their suspicions aside, the Jump Street team is busy, so Henry Cavill's stern glare and his lightning-sharp mustache is gonna have to be enough to keep Cruise in line. However, let's be clear here, if there is one day a crossover between Mission Impossible and the Jump Street series, I would totally be on board for that shit.
Stop fucking with Korean Jesus.
To first address why Mission Impossible 6 Fallout is so goat-punchingly good, I'm also going to tell you why people appreciate the Mission franchise overall. The franchise itself has become somewhat of a hybrid, combining aspects of a modern action blockbuster with, say, the old-school style of James Bond, and excelling at both of those, even better than most modern James Bond movies in the last 2 decades, which have been kind of shitty other than Skyfall and Casino Royale.
I've got knowledge. Talk dirty to me.
And in fact, that distinction of quality is important to note. For many people like myself, I am a huge James Bond fan, but I've been finding that series just so lacking as of late that I've kind of turned to the Mission Impossible franchise to be my spy franchise of choice because it is modern while maintaining that old school sleek style. I mean, sure, there's only been 6 installments compared to Bond's like 20-some, but the quality of 5 of those 6 installments rank from good to being Tony the Tiger levels of great.
Mission Impossible 2 knows for sure what direction this series should take.
Hey, Wait, no Mission Impossible 2. I said 5 of 6. God damn it. From a narrative level, Mission Impossible as a series more or less tosses out complex character arcs in the wind, kind of like James Bond until the more recent ones, and opts to instead give Tom Cruise and the rest of the supporting cast easy to gauge character traits that play well off of each other and are entertaining to see unfold. And truthfully, the series has gotten better at this as time has gone on, and in Mission Impossible Fallout, the cast is perfect, even though the characters have minimal in the way of character traits, i.e. Tom Cruise is super awesome, Simon Pegg is funny, Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson, is the femme fatale, Agent Walker's a total douchebag, and then there's Alec Baldwin.
Oh my. There appears to be a gentleman making passionate, angry love to himself.
The reason as to why the character aspect is so stripped bare is because then we can just focus and be in awe of what we pay to see, i.e. over-the-top action sequences, cool gadgets, and Tom Cruise doing really ridiculous shit. And the latter of which is the most important because the mission films are more or less a vehicle for set pieces based around Tom Cruise doing his own insane stunt work.
I pitched Tom with a helicopter long line drop, and Tom loved it.
Well, obviously you could do that on a green screen, but of course Mission Impossible fashion, we flew and dropped Tom Cruise off of it.
And seeing as he does do his own stunts means that you can do stuff with him, his character, and his movie that you can't do with other more conventional action stars. Sorry, Jeremy Renner. Mission Impossible Fallout is the best that they've ever done regarding the stunt work and the action sequences. They've totally upped their game in this installment, and that's really saying something in a series where this happened, but I gotta hand it to the Mission Impossible 6 crew because the movie is basically non-stop set pieces that are stringed along together that give you just enough breathing room so you can absorb everything that's happening on screen, which is quite a fucking lot.
We had a safety rig for this one challenging shot. That rig just didn't work.
And we looked at Tom and said, what are we gonna do? So he got on his bike and took off. That's Tom riding a motorcycle against traffic around the Arc de Triomphe.
Does he have a death wish?
However, the focus on action isn't to say that there isn't a good story to be had in Mission Impossible Fallout. While watching Tom Cruise dangling from a helicopter like a mile-high piñata is generally the primary reason why someone is at the theater guzzling popcorn and soda drinks to see the film, MIF has more to offer in the plot department than any of the previous entries beyond just ripping off masks and revealing the real identity like they were in fucking Scooby-Doo. There being a little more substance to the plot has been a tradition that was started in the previous film Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which is a movie that has some semblance of depth. I mean, yeah, admittedly it is the depth of a puddle, but god damn it, it's a sizable puddle, and it's a puddle that gets the job done, motherfucker.
Watch out for that first step, it's a doozy.
Seriously, don't mess with puddles. As far as this pertains to Mission Impossible 6 Fallout, it has even more depth than the previous installment, and to really explain why this is the case, I must stress the importance that particular directors have over their respective films in the Mission Impossible franchise. Out of the 6 installments of the Mission franchise, there have been 5 different directors, all offering their own unique take on the spy thriller formula, while still being clearly linked by intense action, impossible heists, and Tom Cruise, who's clearly giving it his all because he knows that this series is basically his main event and legacy by now. That, and in how he also runs as if he just unlocked an unlimited sprint mode. As far as being like an authorial stamp, the Brian De Palma directed first installment is very Hitchcockian. John Woo's Mission Impossible 2 is stylish to a fault. Mission 3 was J.J. Abrams' directorial debut, and it contains what is later known as his mystery box antics and his tendency to be like a chameleon and adapt to other styles of filmmakers. Mission Impossible 4 director Brad Bird is best known for his Incredibles movies, and Mission Impossible 4 kind of emulated that in the best ways possible. And then last but not least, there's the 5th director, Christopher McQuarrie, who did both Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and Mission Impossible Fallout. And to be bluntly honest, I find McQuarrie's films to be the 2 best films of the series because it seems that he is really focused on giving the bad guys some more legitimate motivation and also make some of the plot, as ridiculous as it is, more relatable to ongoing current events.
So there actually is a syndicate.
However, even though that Mission Impossible Fallout is a direct sequel to Rogue Nation, Fallout is actually surprisingly less like its predecessor than the other films in the series. While yes, Mission Impossible 6 still has some of the lovable lightheartedness of the earlier installments, the film really emphasizes how high the stakes are in this one by virtue of how the film constantly subverts expectations that we've grown accustomed to in the series, which really shakes things up and makes us feel as if we don't really know where the movie is going at times. And I mean that as a compliment. And then there's the fact that plot-wise and thematically, the movie is very effective in conveying if a spy can have morality, because obviously Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt operates on the moral of wanting to save the world, which doesn't really gel with, well, reality.
This is the CIA's mission. If he had held on to the plutonium, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
His team would be dead.
Yes, they would. That's the job.
And this is a very important aspect of the plot. A conflict that really has thematic and narrative depth and gives the whole Cruise versus the no-nonsense mustache attached to the actor known as Henry Cavill some really powerful narrative teeth.
How many times has Hunt's government betrayed him, disavowed him, cast him aside? How long before a man like that has had enough?
Even with the caveat that that said heft doesn't always work. For example, there's a scene at the beginning of the film where Ethan lets 3 WMDs be captured by the bad guys because he needed to save a teammate. While I don't have a problem with this per se, because it fits the story themes and Ethan's virtuous character, but what I will say is that he could have just carried the WMDs with him. I mean, after all, Simon Pegg only moments before chucks them across the room, as one would do with a WMD in a suitcase.
Does he have a death wish?
But that's kind of like the only real issue I had, which is really made up through watching IMF director Alec Baldwin try to explain Cruise's negligence to the bewildered CIA. Like, Baldwin just goes into this lovey-dovey tangent about how important friendship means to Cruise, as if Baldwin were Twilight Sparkle.
Never go with a hippie to a second location.
Now with that said, Mission Impossible 6 Fallout is the best mission film yet, mostly because the action is intense and engaging, and for the most part utilizes practical effects, which is quite the rarity in this day and age. The addition of some narrative depth makes the film more memorable than just any old action movie you forget about in a week. And then there is Tom Cruise and his jaw-dropping, ankle-breaking stunt work, which is truly stunning for his age. But hey, you know what they say, Tom Cruise never changes.
Oh my, there appears to be a gentleman making passionate, angry love to himself.